Hi, this is Katie Weeks, your independent, close to my heart maker, and I am here with the Makers with Heart for a mystery envelope challenge. And this month, Jessica Dipzinski sent us each our envelope, and it had papers from the Mix-Ins paper pack that was from April to June. And she encouraged us to use these and any neutral colored cardstocks. We could add another color of cardstock, but I didn't do that. And we needed to use product that's new to us that we haven't had a chance to play with. So I dug out this Sounds Like It Hurts and the Bouquet stamp set and thin cuts for both of those. And what I'm going to do is take that large square, which is not very large, it's about an inch square, and cut out as many squares from all of these little mix-ins as I can. I'm also cutting out the bouquet from white cardstock at the same time as I put these through. Now, I won't make you watch me cut all of these, but I cut a lot of squares, and then I layered them on white cardstock. And for some reason, I can't remember to hit record when I do things, but I layered them on and then I ran them through with the decorative texture background thin cut, and it gave it a quilted look. And then I also took Kraft cardstock, that was my neutral that I chose, and I cut out with the stitch rectangles Kraft cardstock, and I did the largest one, and I used the outside frame on the front of my card and the inside rectangle on the inside of my card. The next thing I did was use my intense black ink, and I stamped the bouquet on that thin cut. I did save the negative so that maybe I can use that on a different card with a different technique. And I stamped it a couple times in that stamping platform and it came out beautiful. So the next thing I'm going to do is color this up. So I'm starting with the Coral Blend TriBlend marker, and I'm going to color that largest and second largest flower, as well as those 4 tiny buds, all in the coral color. And I'm going to use the 3 different blends or shades to blend them together and give them each kind of a unique look. One thing I like to do, and you'll see me do this in just a minute, is on that very first large flower, when I see the back of a petal, for some reason, I always think that the back is going to be a darker shade. So I get a darker shade when I go in and do the back of the petal, and then I use, I think it's that medium color, and I go back in and I go over the lines for the inside of the other petals, and then I blend those all back in. For some reason, I just kind of like the look of that. And then I went back in on the backs of those 2 little petals, and I went along the edges with the very darkest shade as well. So I just kind of like how that turns out when I do that. There you see me going in with that darkest one, and then I blend them together. And then I do the same things with that, the other 3 flowers that I did in the pale pink blend. The same concept on that 3rd largest flower that I did with the pale pink. You can see the back of some of those petals. So I made sure I did those darker than I did the inside of the petals. And it just gives it a really nice touch. For the leaves, I just used the dull green blend, and I liked how those turned out as well. So when you get towards the end of this whole video, you will see a still shot of the card. And I think that's when you will see the best. But I gave a quilted look to the front. And so we have some different card front die cuts or thin cuts that I sometimes think give kind of a quilted look, or if you've ever done any quilting and you see like stitching and things like that, I like to sometimes use that concept with my sampler type cards, and that's what I would call this card, is a sampler, because you see a sampling of all the different papers that are in that mix in paper pack. Now granted that some of them are a little hard to see because I put such a large image on the top, but I call this a sampler card, and I really like doing cards like this because all of the papers look so nice and they coordinate so nice together. And this is a way that you can display all the various ones and then give it kind of an extra touch by going over with that thin cut and make it look like a quilt. I live in Northwest Ohio, so there are Amish in a lot of them in Indiana, Ohio, and in Pennsylvania in this Midwest region. So a quilted look is probably kind of a regional thing that is very common around my part of the country. And so that's just something I like to do to my cards. So that's why I chose to do this little sampler type card. So I'm going to finish coloring these up, and you see that I put that frame around that has the stitched border, which a lot of quilts have an edge around the outside, or sometimes some blankets do that people make, and so that's why I always like to add that stitched border. So if you've watched enough of my videos, you are not surprised to see me pop that up with 3D foam tape. And then I'm going in with my liquid pearls. I've been quite on a kick of liquid pearls lately. And those two largest flowers, I used the Bisque liquid pearls. And then on the smaller two flowers and on all those little, I don't know what you call it, like extra leaves or branches out around the edges, I took my rose gold and dotted those little things any place they had the little black dot. And it really makes this whole thing come to life when you add something, and then especially once it's dry and you can feel the extra dimension on that part, it just gives it a really nice feel. Okay, for the next step, I'm going to take all of those tiny little scraps and salvage as much as I can out of them to make some tiny banners. So I've envisioned putting some banners on both the outside with a sentiment and on the inside as just a decorative type of element for the card. So here I'm going through and trying to come up with that center section between all those little squares and just trying to save as much as I can out of it and getting some little strips. And I'm going to use all of these little strips for my banners. They're kind of long, so I think I can even maybe cut them in half and use them both places. So I'm going to bring a stamp in from Sounds Like It Hurt, and the stamp says praying for you. And I'm going to take that stamp and I'm actually cutting it in half. I'm doing some stamp surgery. So praying for you is on 2 lines, and I don't have enough room on my tiny banners. I need to stamp it all in 1 line. So I'm bringing back in my intense black ink after I line up that stamp and make sure it looks straight enough. And I'm going to season it on the back of my hand real quick. Oh, maybe I used my archival ink on this one. It doesn't really make a difference which one I use. But I'm going to stamp praying for you, and I guess I stamped it to the left, so I will be making these banners go on the left-hand side. I envisioned the right, but I guess I wasn't paying attention. So that works. I can make it on the left. It really doesn't make any difference. So I'm doing some little banners, just slit up. I split these in half. I put a slit up the middle, and then from each corner to the top of that slit, and it makes the perfect little banner. And I will layer up 3 of these banners for the front of the card, and then I will make some for the inside of the card. So if you have enjoyed watching this video and getting some of my little tips about how I do things when I make a card, then please consider giving me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, please do that. I have a goal of how many subscribers I want to hit for this year, and I'm hoping to hit 1,000. I don't know if I'm going to do it. I'm closing in on 800, and I'm consistently building up a group that's following me, and I appreciate it when you leave me comments. I find that so encouraging. But please consider subscribing to my channel if you have enjoyed watching this video. So I'm layering these on the inside of my card, and I see that these are cute, but I think I want a couple more banners. So I go back and look for some more scraps and see, oh, I think I can save a little bit more paper off of this particular one. So I make some more banners. Why not, right? Like literally they call it scrapbooking is what I usually do because I'm always using my scraps, but I think we do a lot of scraps in our card making too. And I pretty much got my money's worth out of all of those pieces that Jessica sent me. So thank you so much, Jessica, for sending us our mystery envelope this month. I really had a lot of fun making this card, and I always love to make something that can be a sampler that shows all of the different selection of papers in a paper pack. So if you would like to go ahead and leave a sweet comment, I would really appreciate it, and feel free to share this with your crafty friends. Have a great day.